are brought to you by Joshua LaFon with Simply Vegas Real Estate, a realtor here to help educate current and future Las Vegas locals on selling and investing in real estate. You're probably asking yourself, educate. Yes, there's a surprising amount of adults that when it comes to real estate, don't know the right questions to ask, don't know where to start, and think they need a lot of cash to buy a house in Nevada, which simply isn't true. So Josh has decided to make it his responsibility to teach his clients what they need to know, and equally important, what they need to ask to help ensure making their home ownership dreams a true reality. So make sure you call or text Joshua LaFon today at 702-813-0533. This has been another paid advertisement from Joshua LaFon with Simply Vegas Real Estate. Make sure you give him a call, 702-813-0533.
Walking out when you could. Bad judgment. But don't you worry, son. It will all be over soon.
Anthony, give me a boy's name that starts with the letter H. Jose.
Bobby, it's me, your daddy, Roberto.
Occasionally, you may hear it pronounced as Joao. It depends.
It's called Rex Kwando.
Look at me now. How far we go back? Elementary, jump rope, hide and go see, pity pat, red light, green light, red light, green light.
Hello? You play to win the game.
You are tuned in to Straight Bet Sports on the Gorilla Cross Radio Network.
That's right, Wednesday night, just past 9 p.m. You already know what it is. We are coming to you live from downtown Las Vegas, Nevada. I am your host, Jose V. You're tuned in to Straight Bet Sports here live on the Gorilla Cross Radio Network. We greatly appreciate you joining us tonight, as you do every single Wednesday night. You could be doing anything else that you want, but you are tuned in tonight with us, so we greatly appreciate you. Lots to talk about. Let me go ahead and introduce the people in the studio with me tonight. Got my co-host, as I do every single Wednesday night, the homie Bradford, because we got to stick that name to him. We got the homie Bradford in the building.
Yes,
Ian, you ready
sir,
tonight?
yes,
We got
sir.
great conversation.
Let's go.
Your Eagles didn't... your Eagles.
What you mean?
I'm sorry.
What you mean?
Your Eagles looked good against someone that we have in the studio, which we're going to talk about that here.
Hey, calm down.
This guy's always rocking his Eagles. See, I feel bad because I'm a Jets fan. I don't think you guys have ever seen me wear anything that has to do with the Jets on this show, which is a crazy thing about it, but I got to start doing it, even though they're bad.
Have pride, man.
Hey, Mike White, baby. You know what I mean? You never know. It could be the future there. But anyways, if you guys are watching, do me a favor, as I ask you to do every single week. Press that like button. Press that share button. Drop a comment. Let everyone know what it is you are enjoying tonight and what you are tuned into. We are on social media on all Gorilla Cross radio platforms. That is on Twitter, YouTube, and of course, Facebook. Just search up Gorilla Cross. We are live right now. We also share it on our personal pages. It's on my page. It's on Ian's page. It's on C. Winn's page, which, without further ado, let's bring him in. Our guest of the night. He is local radio sports personality and one of my best friends here in this business and just in world in general. Greatly appreciate you joining us, Chris. How's it going, my man?
It's going great. Good to join you guys, girls, on a Wednesday night. A lot of fun. Ian, yeah, I don't think they were ripping up Philly too much after that win on Sunday over my Detroit Lions, but hey, it was a W, though.
Hey,
so
a win's a win. You got to take them. Got to take them.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. We got a lot of conversation to have with you guys tonight. But once again, we are coming to you live from Gorilla Cross Radio behind the big boards tonight, as he is every single Wednesday night for us. Quan59 doing his thing. If you guys want to chime in and give us a call, 702-608-3259 is the phone number. Lines are always open, so don't be afraid. Don't be scared. If we happen to mention something that kind of bothers you a little bit, or you just want to give your take and your comments, all comments, everything is welcomed and allowed. So give us a call. Just no bad words, because we are not allowed to use that type of language. Now, gentlemen, before we get into some of the tragic news that has happened here locally, let's start the show off with some positive news, right? Atlanta Braves win the World Series, which is big topic. A lot of us were talking about not watching the World Series, me being one of them, because not really the teams I expected to be there. I'm pretty sure that the ratings weren't as great. I haven't looked into that, so I'm not sure if they were or weren't. But we had a great World Series all the way around. We had a team in Atlanta that not too many people expected to win the World Series, yet alone be in it. Think about it. You have the team that had the lowest record wins-wise overall in the playoffs go to the World Series and win it all, right? And they took out the juggernauts, as a lot of people called, which was the favorite the LA Dodgers with 106 wins. 20 wins more than you had going into that series, but yet you were able to take them out. Now, 26 years, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, since the Atlanta Braves have won one back in 95. Do I have
exactly
that correct?
right, yeah.
95 with Bobby Cox as the
Over
manager.
20 years since they've even been in one.
Yeah.
Right? So pretty impressive to say the least that Atlanta was able to do it. And as Jose, you brought up, they beat the best to get to the crown.
To be the best.
You knock off a team in the Dodgers who beat the other good team in Major League Baseball. That's the San Francisco Giants, obviously, right? And then, of course, you knock off Houston. Say what you want about the perception of the Houston Astros, right? And rightfully, it's absolutely valid. Okay,
Correct, 100%. Yeah.
The cheating scandal and all that. But they are a very talented team, okay? The Astros were, this year, the legitimate American League champions, and they're an excellent ball club. And Atlanta got it done and beat them. And so, yeah, full congrats to that team. As I pointed out, first time in a World Series, in over 2 decades, ever since we, all those numerous Atlanta Braves teams back in the 90s that had the loaded pitching staff, tremendous offense. Obviously, you could call it a dynasty-type team.
They won like 15 years in a row winning the division.
They were just dominant. They were just flat-out dominant. Once the trade was made with my Detroit Tigers to get John Smoltz, with the trade with Doyle Alexander back in I believe it was 87.
Going way back.
Yeah, we're going way back. And then, of course, you saw the solidification of that pitching staff with Vegas' own Greg Maddux, obviously Tom Glavitt, Steve Avery, John Smoltz, across the board, and then the offense with the David Justices and the other pieces that they had offensively. It was a great team. But it's far removed from that now. They've established the Freddie Freemans, right? The Solairs, the guys have established their own identity now, right, guys? When it comes to the Atlanta Braves and moving forward, they're going to be able to build on that as we go into
They really
next
were
season.
able to do this without many of their stars
I was
as
about to
well.
say that, yeah.
I mean, you had Soraka out. That was pretty much the entire
Acuna.
season. Yeah. You had Acuna. You
Their
had
whole outfield was remade.
Yes.
Your ace broke his leg in game 1 of the World Series, and you still had Soler hitting, I think it was 3 home runs, very pivotal home runs, especially in that game 4. That was the turning tide of that game. So this Braves team was not only able to overcome adversity through all stages of this season, but especially in the postseason. And I think it just attributes to the greatness of what they accomplished.
It was fun to watch, even though I'll admit, like I said, I wasn't going to be one to watch it that much. I didn't care much for it because the teams that were in it weren't really anybody that I cared about. You know what I mean? Or
Be
anything of
straight,
interest.
Jose.
But-
they beat your boys.
See, I'm a Braves fan,
Pissed
so
about
I
it.
don't like the Braves. I
Yeah.
do not like them. They always beat us. I don't.
Look, the only person that I'm happy for when it comes with the Braves is Freddie Freeman. I love Freddie Freeman.
Right.
I think he's a lifer. If Atlanta lets him go, they're dumb. He's a Chipper Jones type of guy. You need to keep him there. Don't let him go anywhere. But the guy almost died from COVID. Let's not forget that. He almost died from COVID last year. And for him to come back and win a World Series, forget everybody else in that locker room. Imagine how fulfilling it is for him. I've never had COVID. I've never had it to the point where I got sick like that. I know people that have gotten sick, but not like that either. But just to think that you were on the cusp of possibly losing your life, and now you're the World Series champ.
And you guys got to believe, right? Every Major League Baseball fan of every other team, right? Except for the Houston Astros, is happy the Dodgers won this World Series. Right?
Everyone was
Everybody
rooting for the Braves just
100%,
because of who they were
100%.
going against.
Yeah.
Like
Beat the Astros.
Nobody cared about
out
their
of there.
division ties.
out of
They just wanted the Houston Astros.
Exactly.
I feel bad for Dusty. Don't get me wrong. I like Dusty.
Yeah,
Baker.
that
I
is
love
one
Dusty
angle of
Baker.
it. Now, look, we have our friend T.C. Martin
Correct,
here in
yes.
town who does a show here in town, and he's very close with Dusty. They're like buddies.
Yep.
And so there was that kind of angle that I was kind of rooting for Dusty, but
Yeah.
I got to admit, guys, though, at the same time, I'm like, no, no.
No, can't do it.
Come on. And,
Can't see it.
And I don't have a dog in the fight when
Yeah.
it comes to the Atlanta Braves. I'm not, by any stretch, a fan of the ATL or that team, but hey, congrats, they got it done.
So, Chris, I know you're a guy that likes to look at movement, meaning guys that move around, possibility of things like that. We have possibility on both teams here. The Astros have a lot of top-name guys that they got to sign, Correa being one of them. What's going to happen there? Do the Astros continue to find a way to keep money here to keep these guys? Or are they going to be the team that's going to get sold and getting apart? Atlanta, are we going to see a fire sale? Are they going to keep the guys that they had now and think they're okay with that? Or do you come back with the guys that got injured that are going to come back healthy and try to keep those around? There's a lot of question marks, right?
I think it's going to be a little bit of both, you guys.
Yeah.
And look, you know that the landscape that is Major League Baseball. We're all fans of teams, and there's going to be the usual suspects that are out there going to go after the Correas and the other pieces that the Astros bring to the table. It's going to be the Red Sox. It's going to be the Dodgers. It's going to be the Yankees. Maybe to some extent the Chicago Cubs as well, too, trying to get back into the mix when it comes to the National League Central. Well, I'm just talking about the big market teams.
Correct, definitely.
You think Chris Bryant goes anywhere?
Pick off some of that talent that they have in Houston.
You think Chris Bryant goes anywhere? Like, you think they trade him? Or
well, off the top of my head, now that I think about it, probably not, right? Because he's a guy who grew up a guy who rooted for that team in San Francisco, obviously a Vegas guy, right? And
still close to home if you think about it.
Yeah, it's still close to home. So I think he'll have options, but as of right now, I don't think that there's anything really in the works that would get him out of San Francisco.
Once again, you're tuning to Straight Bet Sports live here on the Gorilla Cross Radio Network. I'm your host, Jose V. Bradford, my co-host in the building. And tonight we got the good friend C. Winn chopping it up with us. You can catch C. Winn on SportsX Radio with Ken Thompson. You can find him on Heatwave Sports, Fox Sports Radio, 1340 AM with Tim and Tom. Great stuff there as well. And not only that, you just find Chris anywhere on social media. And, of course, anything that has to do with media or even just news in general, because you jump on K-Dawn from time to time and talk about politics.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. I've been a guest on I've been a host of the Vegas Take also, which is they focus more on politics, but they also talk a lot of sports, too, in the 11 to 12 o'clock hours. So, look, there's obviously we're about ready to embark on talking about it, but there's just been all kinds of stuff this week that we've had a chance to kind of bounce around, and obviously the situation with the Raiders is going to be one of them.
Yeah. So Vincent, Primetime Gelato, appreciate you chiming in on Facebook, my man. He states, and I'm a Yankee fan, so I want to read this. Yankees already said they in the sweepstakes for a new shortstop, and they want to pursue Trevor Story.
Okay.
What do you think about that, Chris?
It makes some sense.
You need it.
Absolutely.
If you're the Yankees,
the Yankees are going to be always looking for bats.
I think if you can get him on a affordable contract, then I think that's the major thing.
But will it work, Chris?
His contract right now is kind of inflated. I don't think he's worth
no question. But
so
they can possibly get it done. I don't know. So is he up this year, or is he a free agent, or is this?
I think he's up this year. That's why they're talking about
they can absolutely work it. Then. Yeah,
absolutely.
They can absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
all right, guys. Let's get away from the baseball. Congrats to the Braves. Big shout out to Goose Thomas from Let the Ball Bounce. He's a huge Atlanta Braves fan. Congrats to you, my man. I know you've been waiting a long time. So it's good when you get a close friend that is a fan of the team and they win. Yeah. You know what I mean? Definitely big ups to the Braves. I'll give my final take on this and we'll move on. I don't see the Braves going back to the World Series next year. I can see a type of situation with like the Nationals where they're going to fall off for maybe a year or two. Still be legit, but not be that powerhouse team that can win it again. I think they'll be okay. They're still the Braves. The Braves are that division, and we know that. Yeah. But we got to talk about what happened close to home. Before we all give our takes, because I'm going to talk about the situation, get your takes, and then I'll give you guys mine, because I have a lot to say about this, because I've been in situations like what just happened, if that makes sense. Now, if you guys all know, here locally, it was reported yesterday. If I'm correct, it was yesterday morning.
Yes. Yesterday, what, 9 a.m.?
Yesterday morning.
It was reported around 9 a.m.
Right,
correct. Yeah. 3:29 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yep.
Henry Ruggs, second-year wide receiver from Alabama that plays for the Las Vegas Raiders here in Vegas, was involved in a car crash. 3:29 in the morning, he was speeding on Rainbow between Flamingo and Tropicana, I think it was. It came out today. He was doing 156 miles an hour. His blood alcohol level was 2 times the legal limit. And I get it, he was intoxicated, but the scariest thing to me was that, and I've read this in more than one article, so I'm just going off of what I've read. He jumped out of the car, sat there, and watched the person burn to death in their car, which was the toughest thing for me to swallow. And I've read this in numerous outlets. Again, I'm not stating it's a fact, just going based off of what I've read, but it's a tough pill to swallow, especially because you have sports franchises that's been the biggest what if about bringing teams here. It's Vegas. It's a 24/7 town. The vices, the things that you can do, the things that you can get away with. Will players get in trouble? Now, I'm not going to give you guys my thoughts yet because I have stuff that I want to add to this, but I wanted to see what you guys thought based off of what you've seen. How do you feel about this situation? Ian, I'll let you go first.
So my feeling about this all is there's no reason for him to be on the road. Absolutely not. The NFL has had pretty much, what is it, for a full decade now almost. They have a partnership with Uber for their NFL players, as well as a 1-800 number on the back of their
Private
player
number.
ID number, player ID card. It's a 1-800 private. NFL will send you a black card if you're ever in a situation where you're too drunk to drive or you just need to get out of a situation. And this has been available for almost a decade now. And there's no reason at all for you to even be in that situation. And then not only that, but you're going 156 miles an hour. You don't
In
even
a
have
35 mile per hour
in
zone.
a
let me tell you
35
that.
mile an hour zone. You don't even have to be drunk or intoxicated or even a little bit tipsy to crash into someone or crash into a wall.
Yeah.
Like, someone was probably going to die no matter what because of his choice to go that speed. And then to add drinking on top of it is inexcusable, especially as an NFL player. It's inexcusable for any person really to make that choice. But for an NFL player with a mass amounts of options available to avoid that situation, it's inexcusable. I feel for the victims. I feel for their families. I think it's a tragic accident, crash. I don't like using the word accident because it wasn't an accident. He made the choice to do this. But what do you think, Chris?
My initial reaction was probably the reaction that all of you guys had, and probably 97 to 98% of America, because as OG pointed out, it's a local story. But obviously, when it's a NFL wide receiver and you have a story like this that's so tragic and so horrific, and with details that are just grisly, it becomes a national story, right? And people start to talk about it. My initial reaction, obviously, is my thoughts towards Tina and her family, the victim, right? And I think about. I just can't even imagine. I can't even fathom. You guys are parents. I don't know if you guys are parents or not. I'm not.
I am, yeah.
But I have nieces and nephews. I can't even imagine from a family standpoint having to deal with this type of situation. As far as Henry Ruggs is concerned, and Jose kind of alluded to it, and I'm sure we're going to be getting into this whole thing. I'm not really hugely impressed about this whole angle of we need to start blaming Las Vegas. Okay?
Yeah.
Because this is a situation that transpires on a daily basis. Now, as I pointed out, the reason it's a big story is because it doesn't happen very often. Okay? I'm not trying to minimize it. I'm talking about, someone getting killed by an NFL player driving drunk. It's not something that happens every day. Okay? Doesn't diminish how horrific it is and bad it is. I'm just saying it's a fact. It just doesn't happen all the time. So that's why it's a huge story. But there is this kind of angle being taken, and you guys like me are all on social media, and there has been this discussion. Oh boy, we should have known this was going to happen because this is Las Vegas, and now they have professional teams there, and these guys go to Vegas and they can't control themselves, and it's complete garbage.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a 22-year-old man. Okay, he has to be responsible for himself, and he is ultimately, in the eyes of the law, is going to be responsible for himself. He's going to get charged, and the justice system is going to move forward. He's going to face the consequences. And I've said this so much on social media today in the last 48 hours, basically, since this has all come out. This discussion, look, New York City, Miami, Florida, New Orleans, Louisiana, the cities all over this country where you have options, okay, from a social standpoint, from a drinking standpoint, and being out and about, right? And especially if you're a professional athlete, right? So this idea that Henry Ruggs, this could only have happened here in Vegas, I think is completely preposterous.
I agree.
All right? It doesn't minimize what happened. It doesn't absolve Henry Ruggs by any stretch or by any way, shape, or fashion from his responsibility in this, which is completely idiotic, where you are intoxicated, and I don't know if you guys have seen the amounts that have been speculated on as far as what he was drinking and how much he was drinking.
0.161,
he was
I think.
way hammered, okay? He was blasted, and he apparently went to another spot after he went to Top Golf because Top Golf closes at midnight, and had some more drinks apparently because he was just hammered. and then you're traveling down a local street. We live here in Vegas, you guys. We know what Rainbow is all about. How are you getting up to 156 miles an hour on Rainbow Avenue or Rainbow Boulevard? I mean, it's just completely ridiculous. I can't even. You know what I mean? So those details, along with the the horrific fashion. I'm not trying to get into the details, but it was just all the details together, and the circumstances just make this an abomination and a tragedy that we can't even get a grasp on. And I just wanted to point out that whole aspect, though, that whole angle regarding Las Vegas and professional athletes. I think it's ridiculous.
I agree with you. I've read somewhere that we're actually ranked 33.
Exactly.
in DUIs resulting in death. So that whole I agree with you. I haven't heard too many people with that angle, but I've seen it a little bit, and I don't think that it's a valid angle, because this would have happened in any of those party cities that you just mentioned.
I expect all of you guys have traveled to other parts of the country, right? And been to other cities. I've been to New Orleans. I've been to Miami. I've been to New York. I've been to Los Angeles. If there are situations where you can be out till 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and just keep powering down drinks in those situations, again, doesn't make it right what Henry Ruggs did at all. And it doesn't absolve him at all. But this notion that, Vegas, it's because he was here and the Raiders moved to Vegas, and so this just it just happened because of that. I don't buy it.
Do you think that they should hold the Topgolf bar somewhat responsible? Because it's rumored that he had 18 shots and a couple of mixed.
They're going to look into that.
Because
all casinos do that.
It's a
with
good question. Yeah. The problem is, and I don't know the exact term, but I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to get too act like I'm an expert or anything. But it's to my understanding that no, Nevada does not have those laws where you can hold establishments responsible for individuals drinking. Now,
I think you can hold the individual responsible.
The bartender. Yeah, but see, think about this. You guys all live here in Vegas, okay? You've been to clubs and bars in this town, okay? Really? Are we gonna go down that rabbit hole where we're gonna start talking about bartenders knowing exactly what all of their patrons are as far as their drink? I work in a restaurant and a bar on the Las Vegas Strip. I've worked here for 18 years on a bar. Look, we have our codes that were given as far as red light, green light, yellow light.
Gotcha.
Yes, we have standards that we're supposed to follow, but the reality of the situation is a lot of these places are packed, okay? Yeah. You have hundreds, even in some cases, thousands of people in those bars, okay? So the notion that some bartender is going to be able to monitor whether it's Henry Ruggs or anybody else for that matter in the bar at Topgolf, and I don't know if you guys have been to Topgolf, I've been there, and for functions where there's been a lot of, open bars basically, right? So there's a ton of alcohol being consumed.
Well, and you have 5 to 10 bartenders and 20 cocktail waitresses, so how are you going to determine who gave him the alcohol?
That's exactly to your point. That's what you're saying. So how are you going to hold one person responsible and say, oh yeah, this Jimmy, the one bartender, he gave him 15 shots and the other person only gave him 3, so he's absolved. You know what I mean? You're good. It ends up you get caught up in the weeds, I think, a little bit, and I don't want to say it takes away from the responsibility of Henry Ruggs, but it kind of goes down another avenue that I don't think. Look, I'm going to say this again. You guys, we all live in Vegas, right? If they penalized every bar or restaurant for over-serving tourists and patrons, there'd be no place to go. Everything would be closed down. You know what I mean? So, like, it's again. So that's kind of my rationale.
Apparently, it's the Drum Shop Acts. The Drum Shop Acts, and apparently it is not here. So
exactly. So Topgolf's not going to face any. No. And by the way, there was more information. I mean, this is online, so I don't want to state it as exact fact.
Correct.
But apparently he was at Topgolf. Topgolf closes at midnight, and apparently he went and played a poker game or somewhere on the west side at somebody's house. Yeah. We don't know if what he was doing there as far as either smoking weed or what I mean, or drinking whatever.
That's 3.5. That's 3.5 hours in between.
Exactly.
Him leaving Topgolf.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And they didn't make him go 156 miles per hour.
Exactly.
No, they did. So there's also a loaded gun in there.
Oh yes,
another dumb thing. What are you doing?
I don't even know.
What are you doing?
Which is something that they take seriously in Nevada, is loaded guns in vehicles. So,
all right, guys, I gave you guys a few minutes to talk, so I'll give you guys my thoughts on this. So, quick story time, real quick. For those of you that know me personally, then you know how and why I moved to Vegas. In 2007, I got my first and only legit DUI. I was at a bar hanging out with buddies. I won't give the name of the bar because I don't want to make the bar look bad. But if you know me and you know where I'm talking about, continue to go there. It's a great spot. I'm not gonna put it down because, like you say, you can't really blame the bartenders, right? I remember I was playing pool. I was drinking wine, which is the craziest thing about it. I wasn't even drinking anything hard. I wasn't drinking like shots. I wasn't drinking beer. I was drinking wine. I remember going back to the bar after playing pool. Sat down. I was talking to a friend of mine. That was it. The next thing you know, I'm drunk. I crashed. My car door is being open. There's a cop there. I look at him and I try to put the car in drive. I remember because later the cop tells me, I don't know where you were trying to go. The whole front axle of your car was gone. Wow. So my biggest thing is Henry Ruggs killed someone. I didn't, right? But I could have. I literally blew a signal. I ran a curve, jumped the curve, and I was about 100 yards away from the Arco oil refinery. So I could have literally ran in there and blew myself up and caused a whole lot more damage, right? So what I'm trying to get to is, and I'll tell you how I feel about his situation, but how does he come back from this?
He does.
No, he does. And here's why. If you have a guy, and I'm going to give you a scenario, and I've been talking about this scenario.
Definition of how he does, though, right, Jose?
Correct.
He'll give us.
Yeah.
If you have a guy like Michael Vick, I'm going to give you that situation. You're wearing an Eagles jersey. This guy did not kill people, but he was killing dogs. Had a ring going on for years, which we know is cruelty. Just like killing a human, it's animal cruelty. If he found a way to go to prison, do the right things, and get back in the good graces of the NFL, and he was older towards the end of his prime, I don't see a 22-year-old kid not getting the opportunity. Let me finish. When you have guys in the NFL that have been proven, Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, to put their hands on women, but yet still have a job, then yes, I think Henry Ruggs will have one more opportunity in the NFL. Does he deserve it? No, he does not. And here's why I think he doesn't deserve it. You tapped on it, and I've been mentioning it and talking about it since this came out. The NFL has that service. If you, as a superstar player, and I'm sorry to say this, and I have to throw it out there, a minority black athlete to top it off, if you know you're going out where there's going to be alcohol and you're going to drink and you're going to get intoxicated, why the hell are you driving? Why aren't you already getting a car service to get there? Now, I keep hearing from people, well, it's easy for you to say that he should have called that number, but when you're drunk, you don't know what you're doing. That's not an excuse. I don't care. Because you know why? At that point in time, you do know what you're doing. You may not remember the next day because you black out. A lot of us that drink have had those blackout moments. I don't care who you are. We have had those moments. But when I am drunk at that point in time, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing at that point in time. If I'm trying to do something bad, or if I'm hungry and I want to go eat, I know what my mind is thinking at that point in time, and I know if it's wrong or right. The difference is the alcohol doesn't make you care. When you get behind the wheel, you get excited and you want to go a little faster. You might bump the music, right? So the way he makes this right is what he does after this. How does he interact with the family of the victims, which is going to be huge? How does he plan this out and make his move? Does he start looking for organizations that are drunk driver? MAD, as the program we have out here, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And not only that, does he seem sincere when doing it? Because we've had a lot of players, whether it's not necessarily a tragedy, but steroids or this, that, or whatever, and they try to get back in the good graces and they jump into programs or organizations or fundraisers, but you can tell in their body language they're not about it. They're just there to try to get their persona right. It's going to be about how he goes about the next steps in his life. Don't make excuses for what happened. Stay away from the cameras. Get away from the mic. There is no excuse for what you did. Someone is dead now because you wanted to be stupid. And another thing too, I'm sorry. Call me crazy if you disagree with me. That's okay. And we all have our right to disagree. I also blame the passenger. Why are you allowing him to drive? Granted, we don't know what happened. Maybe they did argue. Maybe they had an argument in a fight leading up to that, and she jumped in the car anyways. Who knows? We don't know what led to that, right? But it should not happen, period. Superstar athletes need to start understanding. Just because you are a multi-millionaire does not make you invincible, man. and every single sports organization has driver programs. The NFL's program is a don't tell program. Yeah. You could be high, drunk at a prostitute's house. They will pick you up and take you home. No questions asked, no report filed. As long as you did not break the law, you weren't arrested, nothing like that. Why couldn't you do that? There is no excuse whatsoever. Like with me, with my DUI, I didn't kill no one, but there was no excuse for me to even try to get behind the wheel or even be at a bar trying to get that intoxicated. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? If you know you're out somewhere, and I have someone here in the studio, so I'm gonna mention her. My wife is here in the studio. Big shout out to my wife, Bernice. First time she's been in the studio. She can attest to that. There's been numerous times where we're out now, and we'll leave the car and we'll take an Uber and we'll go home. Or we'll stop drinking and we'll eat and we'll drink some water and we'll sober up because we know we got to get home. You know what I mean?
Jose gets a little bit tipsy, Bernice? Is that what we're saying here?
Wait, if you ever go on his Facebook Lives, you'll see the Modelo. Like 4 in the afternoon.
Not a shocker whatsoever then,
as
right?
Quan says Modelo time, but I know we jumped into it and got a little funny, and it's not a funny situation, but still, there's no excuse. 100% there is no excuse. Now, do I feel, and I'll end it at this, and if you guys want to add more to it, you will. Do I feel he deserves another chance? No, because all of the avenues for you not to get into this trouble are there, so there's no excuses. Do I believe he will get another chance? I honestly do believe that we will see him in the NFL.
Normally, I would agree with you, Jose. However, even though Las Vegas didn't cause this, the fact that it did happen in Nevada might be the reason why he doesn't get another chance. And that's because they might be looking for the max sentence, which is 26 years, if it's just those 2 charges that they're charging him with.
I don't think he'll get that, though, just because of the profile type of player. He's not a big profile player. We get that, but we know who he is.
They've been cracking down since 2019 hard on these cases. So they've been really pressuring the judges to make a decision closer to the maximum. Now, he does have a good attorney, David Chesnoff. He's known.
Look at Ian coming through with the attorney stats over here.
He's known for these type of things. However, like I said, because it did happen in Nevada, since they are cracking down, I think, and the horrific nature that this woman did die, Tina Tinter, I believe her last name was.
Yeah. Yes.
The horrific nature, I think, is going to make a grand jury say that he's guilty, find him guilty, as well as I think the judge is going to be pressured to give him as much as he can.
And Chris, I'm going to add on to what Ian said there regarding this. From a legal standpoint, it is 2 to 20 years, I believe, is the normal sentencing guideline for DUI with the result of a death situation. Yes. So, but I believe the district attorney had a press conference today and talked about how they're going to try to go to the high end of that. So what that would do, Jose, you gave a tentative timeline, right, of what he possibly could do as far as getting back into the NFL. It would make it highly problematic for Henry Ruggs if he's in prison, for the next 15 years or 12 years. His career would be over. He's not going to be back in the NFL. So that would take care of that. If in response to the NFL side of things here, guys, quickly, there has been some precedent regarding this with Dante Stallworth. Yeah. Remember that case that went down? Yeah. And then the Josh Brent case, of course, with the Dallas Cowboys, where he killed, I believe didn't he kill a teammate or killed somebody that was in his car?
Oh, yes, the teammate.
Yeah. And the Cowboys had him on the sidelines that Sunday. Yeah. Like, it was like crazy. So the NFL is going to take a absolute, we need to make an example out of Henry Ruggs on this type of situation, regardless, I think, of the legal trouble that he's in, which could absolutely take up all this for him, right? I mean, it's going to take up all this for him. It's not even about him playing football right now. It's not even about him getting back in the NFL. It's all about, whether or not he's going to be a free man after 5 years, 3 years, 15, depending on he might be too old. He has excellent representation, right? As a lot of people that are rich athletes or rich people. Period.
Doesn't he have the same as the UNLV kid?
I think it is. Yeah, it's the same kid that the high school kid that was going to go to UNLV.
Yeah. But the difference there, though, the UNLV kid, he was driving while high. Well, at least that's what they were.
That's still DUI.
It is, but it's harder to prove.
And he didn't kill anybody.
Correct.
So that's, I mean, Jose brought it up. I mean, you got to look at each of these circumstances separately, right? Your DUI, and by the way, I'm sure hundreds of thousands around the country, yes, they don't result in death. This one happened to result in one of the worst outcomes. The only worst outcome, and a lot of people, especially probably in the Tinner family and Tina herself, would probably disagree with this, but the only worst case scenario is everybody dies in the crash. You know what I mean?
Man.
That's like the only worst case scenario. This is just horrific, and so I think it's going to be taken into account when it comes to the legal process, regardless of Chesnoff or whoever the attorney is that's representing Henry Ruggs. So it's going to be a long road to hoe for him. And we haven't even talked about, like, Jose kind of alluded to it, the psychological impact, you guys. Imagine if you have to go through your entire life and you have another 50, 60 years to live.
No,
and
you have
this on your mind that you took somebody out like that. It has to be just so devastating.
Not just on Ruggs. There's the report of the security guard from the nearby condominium. He apparently was trying to pull her out of the car while she was burning. So,
bad situation, man.
Tragic,
Horrible
tragic.
situation. Thoughts and prayers out to the family of the victim. Obviously, horrible stuff there. Yet to be seen what's going to happen. We're definitely going to talk Raiders now to see who will fill that position, right? We'll definitely get into that talk here shortly.
And he was the first pick ever of the Las Vegas Raiders.
He wasn't he? Yeah. Number 12 overall, right? I think.
Yeah. Actually, no. Wasn't it Cleveland Farrell?
No.
Or was Cleveland and Oakland?
Ruggs was.
Ruggs was the first when they were here in
You're
Vegas.
right, last year. I'm sorry, you're right, Quan.
Last year.
100%.
In Vegas, in Vegas.
Well, once again, guys, you are tuning in to Straight Bet Sports live here on the Gorilla Cross Radio Network. Jose V, EMB, chiming in with Chris Winn here in the studio, Quan59 behind the big board. We're a little over halfway through the show, so we got to give love to our second sponsor here. Of course, the man that keeps me clean when I got to get to work with my haircuts and anybody else. The homie Eric Navarro from Line 'em Up by Eric, as you see there on the screen. Make sure you hit him up at 702-884-8138. He takes appointments only. Walk-ins are hard to come by because he is busy all the time. Hit him up on IG as well. Line 'em Up by Eric. You can see all his work. He recently posted my haircut on there, so if you guys want to see it, trust me, you will not be disappointed. Beards, lineups, fades, tapers, whatever you need, he'll hook you up. He's cutting out a 5-star barbershop there on Ant Road and Simmons. Greatly appreciate you being a part of the show, my man, as always. Hopefully the thumb is doing better. I know you took the splint out of there, but fellas, let's jump into some college football playoff rankings.
Okay.
If you know me, and Chris does, because Chris and I have been going back and forth for years since I met him.
Yes.
Every time these freaking rankings come out, I think they're a joke, as I do every single year, because it just doesn't make any sense when you have teams that are undefeated in Power 5 conferences that cannot be in the top 4, but yet, I'm sorry, you're Alabama and you play in the SEC, so we don't care if you have one loss. We're still going to put you up there. Now, Chris, you saw it come out yesterday.
I did.
Huge reactions from a lot of people all over social media. What was the first thing that came to your mind when you saw the top 10?
I was surprised that Cincinnati was that low at number 6.
Like everyone
But I
else.
was also surprised that Oklahoma was that low at number 9. That being said, Jose, you know my deal. I think Quan knows a little bit about my deal. Bernice and Ian don't. I'm a Michigan State guy. So I was fired up, my friends, this weekend.
Number 3,
all
baby.
kinds of gassed up.
Number 3,
The
baby.
green and white got it done against Big Blue. Little brother knocked off Big Brother, and now we're sitting at number 3 in the
That was
rankings
a great game.
as
That
of
was
right
a
now.
great game.
Look, a lot of work to do yet for the Michigan State Spartans, and you love Kenneth Walker III. I mean, who could not love watching this guy? By the way, one of the best college football games, and I'm not even just being biased as a Michigan State fan, one of the best college football games in the last decade plus was played in East Lansing this weekend with that Michigan State game. Kenneth Walker III right now, one of the front runners to win the Heisman Trophy. Not saying he's going to win it yet because there's a lot of work to do left. They still have to play the likes of Ohio State. You still have to play Penn State. You have to play a game on the road, by the way, this week at Purdue. That's going to be tough. But that was my initial reaction. I wasn't surprised that Alabama's still up there because we all know the perception of the Crimson Tide, where they are, despite the fact they have a loss, to Texas A&M. And, it's going to be fun to see. I'm telling you, I'm going to be intrigued because Jose brought it up. Cincinnati's not in a major conference, okay? Yeah. And if Cincinnati runs the table, where are they going to be standing as far as respect factor, right? As far as respect factor on the college level.
Do you think that if they do run the table, you think Ritter is a Heisman favorite? Not just
Absolutely.
candidate.
You
Do you
talking
think
about who?
Desmond Ritter?
Yeah, I absolutely do. Yeah,
I think he has to be.
there's no question.
Even with what Bryce Young is doing, because, like you said, the conference, I think that you have to consider that Desmond Ritter, which I think our friend Coach
Mike Davis.
yeah, I think our coach
talked about him.
Mike Davis said that he put money on that, right?
Not supposed to be saying that out there, Ian. You're gonna get people in trouble. But you just
did not put money on
so
it.
somebody Vincent mentioned this on Facebook real quick.
Yeah,
it's about when it comes to Bama, it's about drawing money, right? Now I'm sick and tired of that narrative. That's one narrative that I'm sick and tired of. Well, it's about bringing in rankings, about bringing in money. I get that. Okay, wow, whatever. That's great. It's a big conference, it's a big school, it's a big name. People are going to travel. These teams travel well. I get that. But what you're doing to these kids that are grinding, that are playing, you're telling them you have to be part of a Power 5 to do something, but yet teams that are in the Power 5 can't get any love or any respect. And then another thing, too, it shouldn't just be about the money. It should be about a lot more than that. A whole lot more than that. Because think about this. I guarantee you this is going to be the scenario we're going to be in. Alabama, Georgia in the SEC Championship. Alabama beats Georgia. Alabama, Georgia in the National Championship. It happened a few years ago with LSU, Alabama, and I hated that. I didn't want it. I didn't think it should have happened, and it did. And then not only that, if you look at the way the rankings are, before the college football rankings came out, Iowa lost to an unranked team, right? But with a winning record. Alabama lost to an unranked team with a winning record as well. Alabama stays in the top 6. Iowa drops out of the top 15. How the hell is that even possible? SEC bias, this and that, yada, yada, yada. Final scenario that I'll give you, because it's become a popularity contest more than anything. The year Mark Ingram won the Heisman Trophy, there was a guy by the name of Toby Gerhart that beat him in every statistical category. Yet, he plays for Stanford. You play for Alabama, so we're gonna give it to you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you're getting to the point where kids are gonna fight for a one and done rule in college and say, I only want to play 1 year and leave, just like the NBA, because college means nothing anymore. It's all a business. It's all about money, Chris.
Guys, there is some ultimate monkey wrench scenarios that are presenting themselves, okay? You brought up the SEC deal, okay? What if a 2-loss SEC team somehow gets in the college football playoff, and then Jose just brought up a team that could either not be in a power conference or be in a power conference that runs the table, is undefeated, and not get in. And there's a team, by the way, that's sitting right there and doing that, and it's Tim Duncan's old team. It's Wake Forest. Wake Forest could run the table in the ACC. If they could run the table, they could beat everybody, beat Clemson or whoever they play in the ACC championship game, right? And I think they play Clemson. Also, they play them in a couple weeks. But either way, if Wake Forest does that, and they find some way because of what you just said, Jose, as far as we need to have Alabama, or even if Georgia somehow loses, or if some impossible way Texas A&M finds their way into the SEC championship game and wins with 2 losses, it's all hell's going to break loose. It's going to be crazy. I'm not even talking about the Big Ten. I'm not even talking about Cincinnati and the AAC. I'm talking about Wake Forest and the likes of the teams in the SEC that could absolutely just fire up everybody else that are college football fans around the country.
Another thing that I'm sick and I wish I could use bad language, that I'm sick and tired of is I don't care. There is no such thing as a good loss. If you lose, you lose. I remember when I was a kid growing up in the early 90s, you had to go undefeated to have a chance to win a national championship. Simple and plain. There wasn't, you lost to another team that that was a great loss. No, there is no great losses at all whatsoever. If you lose, you're out. I'm tired of that narrative. So you're telling me if a team goes 0-8 and they lost to 8 ranked teams, those were all great losses? No, you lost. At the end of the day, you lost. I don't know. Do you agree with me on that at all?
I'm not into moral victories or, you came to play, but you didn't get it done. Hey, man, we're here in Vegas. There's a team here in Vegas that that narrative, that take comes up every single week. And by the way, we're talking about the college football playoff. Quick tidbit. UNLV is not going to be in there.
No,
we're not even talking about the Rebels.
Safe to say.
I'll just throw that out there. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm not. Especially when you're talking big time college sports. Okay, if you're talking about high school sports, okay, maybe I could get it. But there's even some parts of the country, especially high school football, moral victories aren't even something that are accepted at that level.
Yeah.
But especially not in big-time college football and in any pro sport whatsoever.
Ian, final thoughts on this before we can move on to football.
It doesn't make any sense. I have always had trouble delving into college sports, especially football, because of the ranking system, because I've always wondered why a team that's undefeated, like you said, or is 10-1 can't get into these major tournaments and playoffs. And it just doesn't make sense, because it's how are you really gauging talent for the NFL even if you can't actually see these guys going up against the best of the best of the best and just make sure that they play each and every one. Because Georgia beating up on Tulane, for instance, not saying Tulane's trash, but I mean,
we understand what you're saying. Troy State.
Yeah, Troy State doesn't necessarily equate to them beating up on Alabama or LSU or some of these powerhouse Ole Miss, some of these teams that are just tearing it up on offense. So I think they need to restructure how they plan to do this going forward, because like you said, the AP 25 is just one straight popularity contest.
All right, let's move on to some NFL, but keep in mind as well, this is the final year of the 14 playoff. They're going to start getting ready to switch it up. So it's going to be interesting.
I know there's some movement in conferences too.
Well, yeah, obviously, but is that 2 or 3 years down the road?
That's about 3 years down the road.
Do you think that'll help?
And you know what's funny?
It actually might hurt, right?
Let's get off the topic.
I know we don't want to get on topic.
But you know what's funny? And we'll move on because we can talk. We can bring you back and talk college.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cincinnati is one of the teams that's thinking about moving. So that's interesting. So we'll see how that goes. But guys, we got about 15 minutes. We won't be able to get through every NFL game, but we'll get onto some good ones. I'm pretty sure you guys all have your main game that you want to talk about that you may like. We're also going to give our picks of the week. I lost again. I don't want to talk about it. We already know what it is. Ian, I believe you won last week, which I'm getting sick and tired of you coming on this show and beating me, but it is what it is. And I lost on both shows. And what I mean by that, I also gave my pick on Heatwave Sports, on Fox Sports with Tim and Tom. Didn't go through because Dak Prescott was hurt. But with that being said, guys, who wants to go first? What game are you looking at that you really like? And it doesn't have to be your pick of the week, but that you want to talk about. Who wants to go first?
I'm interested, to be honest with you, in the situation with the Baltimore Ravens and the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings, of course, coming off a game where they found a way to lose again.
Yep.
Okay. Against the Cowboys without Dak Prescott.
1 in 16 in primetime games for Kirk Cousins, by the way.
Yeah. So you want to? I mean, let's be straight. Let's put all our cards on the table here, using a Vegas term, about the Vikings. They're like the biggest Jekyll and Hyde team in football.
They are.
Okay. They can go out there and they can beat some of the best teams in football on given Sundays, and then they can just lay an egg and lose. Not saying the Cowboys are good, because the Cowboys are good this year, but that was pretty rough last week. So now they go into Baltimore against a Ravens team that, is pretty solid, to say the least. And we're talking about probably the second best team in the AFC right now, behind the Buffalo Bills, in the Baltimore Ravens. This is gut check time for Minnesota. Already, the head coach is already on the hot seat.
Burning.
I mean, the seat is burning right now. So if they go in there and get boat raced by Baltimore, then it's going to be it's going to get even hotter, which I don't even know how it could possibly be that way. But so I'm kind of interested in that game. I think that they'll answer the bell. I really do. So do I think Minnesota's going to win the game? Not necessarily, but I think they do cover. So I'm looking at the Vikings in this matchup against the Baltimore Ravens coming up Sunday.
Pick of the week or just the game you're looking at?
Just a game I'm looking at.
Just a game you're looking at?
Yeah.
Okay. Ian, what you got? What you looking at?
I think Bengals. I like the Bengals against the Browns.
Okay. Especially after that game against
I had
the
him
Jets.
last week. I had him, Ian. I had him last week.
I got a story for you guys about that game too.
The Bengals versus the Browns. I definitely think that Joe Burrow, they had a gut-wrenching loss last week.
It was a look-ahead game. It was a look-ahead game.
Yeah.
They were looking to the next game.
And absolutely, it's a trap game. So now they've had 2 weeks to prepare for the Browns, since they were preparing for the Browns last week.
Yeah.
And I think that they win. I think +2.5, money line, whatever. Minus 2.5, or the money line, whatever one you want to take them at. I think the Bengals get it done this Sunday. I think they beat the Browns pretty easily.
I'll give you a game I'm looking at, but real quick on the Jets game. Mike White was the highest prop bet player as a starting quarterback last week to be the leading passer in the NFL. If you bet that, you hit. I don't remember what the exact number was, but some dude on the East Coast won over $138,000. Not sure how much he bet, but that's just insane, and it shows you that the Jets might have their guy. I'm just kidding. I don't know. But
chalk it up, Jose, to a guy taking a stab, okay? He took a stab and he won. He's not going to be, being a professional handicapper off that
soon.
But did you see what Mike White had texted years ago that he was coming for Peyton Manning's records?
We'll see.
So, maybe they
he's got that belief in himself, right?
I like what I've seen.
He can do
I
it.
like what I've seen from the kid the last 2 weeks. Now, that's not the game that I'm looking at. The game that I'm looking at, obviously, is here at home, the Raiders. Game's not at home, obviously, we know that. It's on the road. It's against the Giants in New York. Which, again, going back to the Ruggs thing, why are you even out on a game week to top it off, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is the second tragedy the Raiders have to go through this season, right?
In less than a month.
Technically, let's say third. And what I mean by that, the emails of Gruden come out. That's one situation, right?
Yeah.
You have to deal with the African-American side of it and the LGBTQ side of it with Carl Nassib. By the way, I'm not going to say where I work, but big shout out to Carl Nassib. I actually got to help him yesterday. He walked into our store. One of the nicest athletes I've ever met in my life. So big shout out to Carl Nassib of the Raiders. He was in store yesterday and we helped him out. But those are the two scenarios, the emails, right? Then you get Gruden fired. That's the second one in my opinion, or Gruden resigns, as they said. Now the Henry Ruggs thing. And then if you want to add a fourth, you have the intern coach, right? Yeah. You have 4 different scenarios going on, and they've all happened right before a game, during a game week, when things have to be on point, when you have to have everything right. I think the Raiders have the right guy at the helm, though, Chris. And what I mean by that, guys, is Rich, right? The guy's name?
Basaccio.
Him.
You're right, the head coach.
Yeah, the guy they have right now. I think they have the right guy in place with everything that's going on. The players respect this guy. The players listen to this guy. They love what he's feeding them, and they understand the culture they're trying to create. Whether he's going to be there moving past this season or not, the players are biting and feeding into it. So, again, I said it before when the other tragedies and stuff happened, that the Raiders were going to be fine. I think the Raiders will be fine here as well. I know the Giants put up a fight against the Chiefs, but come on, the Chiefs are not the Chiefs this year. They're a completely different team. This game I'm looking at, I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on this game. If we're looking at money, 79% of the money is being bet right now on the Raiders. Granted, it's Wednesday, long time before we get to Sunday. A lot of money could come in on the Giants. But I think this is going to be a very interesting game to watch. How are the players' psyches going to be? Yeah. As Derek Carr, as the leader of this team, what are you going to do to prepare your troops? What type of speech are you going to give? That is the biggest question. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's not about football right now. It's about life. It's about what's going on. It's about another pill to swallow if you're an Oakland Raider player and a fan as well, right? So I think this is going to be a game that's going to have a lot of eyes on it for sure. Now, another game that I'm looking at, that I've been looking at for a while because of what just came out with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
The Chiefs-Packers, right?
Yeah.
You text me earlier today. Yeah. Jordan Love's getting his first start. I know you talk about Jordan Love a lot. I don't think the guy's the future, but that's just my opinion. What are your thoughts on that?
So I like Jordan Love. I think that he was a big arm, raw talent coming out of Utah. I think that sitting behind Aaron Rodgers was literally the best thing that could have ever happened to Jordan Love. And I think that we might actually see a little bit of Aaron Rodgers on Sunday. I do believe that.
Oh, you mean out of him?
Out of
because Aaron Rodgers got COVID.
Aaron Rodgers
he's immunized. Remember, he said he's immunized.
What I mean is the mechanics, some of the reads that you see him looking off and stuff like that, little mannerisms. I believe that we're going to see a bit of that because whether or not Aaron Rodgers is mentoring this kid's been in that building for 2 years now. He's been watching Aaron Rodgers. He's seen a pro. He's seen an MVP go out and tear it up. I think Jordan Love has the talent. He just needed someone to kind of like mold it. So I think we definitely see a good game from Jordan Love.
I wasn't laughing at you, by the way. So Vincent chimes in on Facebook. Jordan Love would throw for 400 yards against that god-awful defense.
It's going to be the Matt Flynn scenario going down, right? He's going to go out there and just rip it up.
And they get a big contract from Seattle since Russell's hurt.
And they're going to trade Aaron Rodgers in like 5 days.
There couldn't have been a better
Taquan's
defense
49ers.
for him to start out against, though. That's for sure.
All right, guys. We got about 5 minutes.
My quick thought on this is
Go for
how does Aaron Rodgers put that team in the position? Okay, you should be a singular. The Green Bay Packers should all have one focus, and that's to win a Super Bowl. You cannot have one of your leaders, okay, derailing that in the middle of a season. You just can't have it. You know what I mean? Forget about your politics or what you think about getting vaccinated, not vaccinated, okay? The NFL has rules, okay? It's a private entity, all right? This isn't communism or a government control or anything like that. The NFL wants you vaccinated, get vaccinated, okay? And if you're the leader of your team and you want to win a Super Bowl, you can't be sitting out games if you're Aaron Rodgers, regardless of. And like Ian, I like Jordan Love too, but it's a tough spot to put him in right here.
And there's vaccinated players that got COVID that might be sitting out this week too. So
but there's different rules though regarding vaccinated players as opposed to not vaccinated.
But you
so
can
that's
still
why
get
it matters.
so it doesn't matter.
Oh no doubt.
And here's the crazy thing about it too. Think about this: the fact that Jordan Love is getting a start because a lot of these quarterbacks they're in the same room together. They're next to each other. They're close to each other. So it's crazy that they didn't do contract tracing and have Jordan Love out. You see what I'm
wasn't
saying?
that the reason Devontae Adams was out last week?
No, Devontae Adams is hurt.
He was injured, right?
Yeah, he's hurt.
I thought he was COVID reserve list. I'm pretty sure it is COVID
You might be
reserve.
right. Yeah, you might be right.
You never know. They can use that COVID reserve list for anything they want nowadays.
Well, because wasn't that why Alan Lazard was also out? Was because he was in close
Lazard was out. I think
Lazard was definitely out for COVID.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was because of he was in actually contact with Devontae Adams. So.
All right,
fellas. 5 minutes. We're coming to the end of the show. All right. Before we get our picks of the week, big shout out to the homie Colin McCombs, one of my co-workers. It's his birthday tonight. We're going to be meeting up here shortly after the show. Big shout out, my man. Hopefully you enjoy your birthday. We've seen you soon. Have a shot up there. No drinking and driving, though. I'm not trying to be funny. Not trying to throw a joke out there. Remember, you go out, you have fun, enjoy yourself, be smart. But, guys, final. We're at the end. I want your picks. Since you are a guest, go for it. Let's get your guest pick of the night, my man.
I'm looking forward to the matchups with 3 NFC West teams. You got that Arizona, Quans 49ers going at it up there in the Bay Area. But the game I'm looking at is that Rams-Titans game.
Let's see what you got.
And you guys know why, right? Because the news came down yesterday. Von Miller is now on the Rams, got traded to the Rams. So now Los Angeles has not only an explosive offense, right? You got the best defensive lineman in the NFL. You've got arguably the best linebacker in the NFL. And oh, by the way, you got one of the best secondary guys and probably the best corner in the NFL. So all 3 levels of that defense. Going to be looking very forward to seeing strength versus strength with Tennessee. Obviously, Tannehill's been very good this year.
Derrick Henry is out, though.
Derrick Henry is out.
Unfortunately.
So
Adrian Peterson has signed with the Titans, too, by the way, if you guys didn't know that.
Exactly. So but they do have some running backs back there that are decent, that are going to try to fill the void. Not going to be able to fill it, but they're going to be back there. So that's Ian. That leads to my pick. I'm taking the Rams. I think the Rams handle their business, and they take out Tennessee.
Where are they at
in that matchup?
They're in L.A. That
It's
line currently sits, you're taking 7.5.
Yes, I'm giving 7.5.
All right. What you got, Ian?
All right. So everyone's going to hate me for this. I love the Falcons here. Falcons against Saints. Even with Ridley out, they've been utilizing Kyle Pitts correctly. He did get taken away from the Panthers game. However, the Panthers do have a kind of a strength over the middle of the field. So I do think that without Jameis Winston, that game is a lot closer. Even if the Saints win this, I think they cover +6.
Okay.
I think that's in fantasy, so I'm wired in on Pitts. You mentioned he had an off game last week, but he was excellent the week before.
So hopefully he can bounce back and be that guy. Same thing with the Jets or the Bengals. Gut-wrenching loss. They were up most of that game, and then they ended up letting them come back.
A fun story, if you know me, I like to bet in game. I took the Jets +240 when they tied it up 17-all, and then I turn around and help a customer, and I check my phone, and the Bengals scored right away, and I'm like, I look, +480. I'm like, are you kidding me? It jumped up that much. So I wasn't going to bet it twice, right? Yeah. And then I leave it, I forget, and I turn around. I could not believe that they won that game. But great game. I'm glad that the Jets won. Chris, I'm going to steal your fire, man. I'm going to steal your thunder. I'm all over the Rams. I love the Rams. I like Ryan Tannehill. I'm a big Ryan Tannehill fan. But let's be real. Just like Sam Darnold with Carolina, this guy goes as far as his running back. Derrick Henry's out. We know he's the workhorse. We know he is the guy on offense. It's not about Ryan Tannehill. It's not about throwing the ball. It all starts and ends with Derrick Henry. We know that. Yeah. With him being out, it's going to be huge.
He's the MVP of that team, no doubt.
I know they signed Adrian Peterson. He's going to be serviceable at best. We know he's not going to come in and give you Derrick Henry type numbers. the acquisition of Von Miller on top of that defense, like you said, it's just it's insane. I honestly think they run away and win this game by 10+ points.
Oh, easy.
7.5. I think it's easy. Call me crazy. I know I haven't won all year, and Ian's beating me. But normally we don't like to choose the same picks, but I just can't take anything else. I like the Rams in this game. I think this is one of the games that is going to be fun to watch this week because I think the Rams are going to come all out. Now, if this game was in Tennessee, whole different story. Even though with Derrick Henry's out, whole different story.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's in SoFi, I like the Rams.
Warm weather. Stafford's going to be – he's tasting that MVP. I think he can taste it.
We'll see.
And he just wants
Gosh,
it.
that hurts, Ian. That hurts.
He should have won.
I was going to wear my Honolulu Boots silver jersey in here tonight.
He should have won the MVP when he was with
taking
the
the
Lions.
knife and twisting it in. Can I say one real quick thing before we close, Jose?
Go for it.
Quick tidbit, guys, because Kwan's wearing a Laker hat. You're a Laker guy. I don't know if Ian is or not. And 25 years ago today, Kobe Bryant made his NBA debut for the Los Angeles Lakers. Just want to throw that out there.
R.I.P. Kobe. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Chris. Definitely. Quan, I've never asked you, so I have to ask you now. Can we get a free pick from you? Can we get a pick? One of your picks?
Yeah, wanted me to work for free.
He wants a little coin, bro.
Can we get one of your picks? Who?
I got the Jags over the Bill. I'm joking.
Lions?
Come on.
Lions.
Who we got?
Lions.
Niners. Oh, Arizona -1 over 49ers in Santa Clara. Give me 49ers. Stop it.
Okay. With the homer pick.
Blown away by that
awesome,
pick.
man.
Yeah. Can't believe you made that. That's
Hey guys,
unreal.
fun show, man. Really appreciate you, Chris. Bradford, as always. Quan for chiming in as you do, man. We greatly appreciate it. Chris, before we let you go and we end up and we wrap it up, let everyone know where they can find you, my man.
You can find me on social media at Christian Winn on Twitter. Also find me at CWin77 over on Instagram. Chris William Winn over on Facebook as well, too. And all across the valley, across the dial on sports radio.
There we go. Ian, final thoughts, my man.
Nothing. We got a great show tonight. We're going to be back Wednesday night next week. Make sure you tune in. Check out our socials. I'm at _sports. Jose _Volante.
Yep.
Make sure that you follow us. Keep up with us. We are going to be on Spaces probably sometime this week. So make sure that you're tuned into Twitter so you can catch us on Spaces.
So my final thought of the night, I'm going to jump off of that and basically piggyback off of what Ian said. Starting possibly next week, because we got to give it some time. Every Thursday morning, we're going to be doing a Spaces on Twitter for everything that we were not able to talk about on the show. Because sometimes an hour is just not enough. And we have a lot more that we want to get out, a lot more that we want to talk about. And we also want you guys, the listeners, to join in and be able to be part of the conversation. Because sometimes you don't want to call in, but you like to be on your social media on your phone. So trust me, we'll be on Spaces. Check me out on Twitter, Straight Bet Sports, EMB Sports. We're out there. My final thought, here's the thing. I think one of these two guys will replace Henry Ruggs with the Raiders. It's going to be either Deshaun Jackson or OBJ. With that being said, I am Jose V for ENB, Chris Winn, Quan59, the wifey in the building tonight. We appreciate you. You've been tuning to Straight Bet Sports on the Gorilla Cross Radio Network. We'll see you next Wednesday night. Peace.
Deshaun Jackson? What kind of replacement is that?
What?